What is takt time in Lean? In this video, I'm going to talk to you about what takt time is and why it's so important to everything we do. Most people in construction have heard of the word takt, but it's like, hey, what does this mean? So you've heard the word, but you really don't know what the origin is or what it's used for or why it's so crucial to a construction project, and I'm going to cover that right now. Let me actually drop back to a quick story. I first learned about takt, but it wasn't the word. By the way, let me talk to you about the word. It's an older German word that symbolizes or signifies or describes rhythm. And it really signifies baton. Okay, so like you are passing the baton, you are leading an orchestra, you are making sure that whatever it is that we're talking about is in rhythm. So if you hear takt, think rhythm. I first learned about this concept at Hensel Phelps in the concept of SIPs, short interval production scheduling. And the main showcase was the United States Pentagon renovation, where they literally had 5-day blocks for certain amounts of work, and they moved through that Pentagon to do the renovation on what's called a SIPs train. Now, it wasn't called takt back in the day, and it was mainly focused on a 5-day takt time, but here we go in the last decade, I would say, obtaining information from around the world, using the German word of takt, and aligning all of our systems to where now we're not just on a 5-day takt time, we can do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then sometimes in hours, and really speed up our production system on a construction site. So I learned that, started to experiment with it on the interiors of a building on a cancer center, then as a project superintendent throughout the entire building, and then as a general superintendent on multiple projects, and then in a company over 50 projects as a field director, and then started Lean Takt and Elevate, companies that help the industry with these concepts because they are so game changing, meaning you can finish sooner, make more money, little to no, I would say no burden, extra burden on the trades, meaning we can narrow durations without hurting anybody, and it's really been quite fantastic. So let me go through a little bit more of the definition, and I think you'll love it. Let me go ahead and grab my marker back here. You knew it was only going to be a matter of time. When you think of takt time and when you think of takt planning, steering, and control, I want to ask you a couple of questions. This is in perspective, but let's say this is like a 40,000 square foot floor in a building. Would you agree that we would want to break that up into smaller zones for trades to work in? Yes, okay, great. So let's go ahead and break that up. Let's say we have 2 zones, okay? Would you say that if I have these entities, these trade partners that I want to move through here, that I can line these up and put them in the right sequence and basically make sure that we have a train or a sequence of trades that will go through those zones? If you're like, yep, okay, then I totally agree with you. We absolutely do. We want these in order and we want to move folks through zones. Well, in takt planning, we do a couple of things. We make sure that these zones are the right size, that we have the right number of zones, and we make sure that this is leveled so that literally trades can flow through here without interruption and really have no constraints or roadblocks. That's takt in its most simplified form, following the rules of leveling your zones, meaning these should be sized by work density, not by area, that your trades are going to flow through there with the right size crews and consistent durations, and that we have the right number of zones, because the smaller these are, the faster you will go. This is actually pretty firmly inside the Toyota production system. And you all know what the Toyota production system is, because if you heard the word lean, you know that a lot of that was based on how Toyota does their work in their car manufacturing company in Japan, aligned with the Japanese culture, doing things better on the pillars of respect for people and continuous improvement. And there's more to it than that. But basically, they run on a takt time. Now, there are 2 different types. And on this channel, we will cover all of these aspects when it comes to takt planning. Anything you're searching, we're going to do a video about. But the bottom line is, manufacturing looks at takt time in 2 different ways. Number one, it's market demand. People have said the Japanese do not do market projections. They simply produce what is ordered. That is not accurate. The Japanese car manufacturing companies very much do market projections. They understand generally from a projection what the demand is going to be, and then that helps them to understand if they have the capacity to produce. Understanding the takt time, the rate at which they must produce to meet market demand, is one definition there. The other one is their car manufacturing plants themselves run on a takt time, meaning that even if it's a continuous motion overhead assembly line, or if it moves and stops, these overhead line manufacturing plants will work on a takt time. There is a rhythm. They will produce a car every 48 seconds, every 50 seconds, every 58 seconds, whatever that is. And that is on that. And think of baton, think of orchestra, think of handing things off. That will work on a takt time, a consistent rhythm. Now, what happens in construction is, instead of the car moving through, we have trades moving through. So this is where it gets really awesome. Breaking up your project into zones that are the right size per work density, having the right number of them, because we know that small batch helps us to go faster, and then organizing what we call a train of trades in construction to move through there on a rhythm throughout the job site is really what creates the flow. So the takt production system in construction is the construction equivalent of the Toyota production system in manufacturing. Now, we always get asked, what is CPM? What is the difference between takt and CPM? And why are you bringing up takt? Doesn't CPM work? Well, let me explain that. In a takt plan, you'll see that one zone will have consistent work, and then the second and the third and the fourth, and it flows beautifully in the diagonal. Now, don't be fooled. Every type, and this is the main myth I want to dispel in construction. There's a myth that takt planning only works on rhythmic work, consistent work, similar work, multifamily projects. That is not true. We do this on high schools, in laboratories, in hospitals, on airports. Every phase, and that's the key, can be broken down and have its own train of trades running through to create your takt plan. And that runs true for every project. And remember, even if there's different materials in these zones, there are similar processes. So it has really nice flow. And this diagonal line is what shows that flow. Now, CPM will run sequences and literally through the forward and the backward pass, narrow the activities, remove any float, create a critical path, not respect crew ties, and will balloon work in progress. So that means that instead of having this trade go from area to area to area to area, you might have a trade in CPM that goes here, here, back a little bit, here, 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 and the GC is expecting them to be in 9 different places. Now, this is detrimental because if you don't have buffers, if you're not on a flow, if you're trade stacking and trade burdening, and if you're increasing work in progress above the capacity of the system, you will spiral it out of control. So takt, if I'm doing my caveman comparison, takt good, CPM bad. And we really, really want to stay away from this. People ask me all the time, can we salvage CPM? The answer is no, we cannot. We've got to get rid of that system. Even if somebody says you can do this in CPM, that is just not true, because the amount of labor hours that it requires makes it impractical, and we don't see it ever when we analyze CPM schedules in the industry. And I'm talking thousands of projects. And basically what we see, and actually I'll just give you a little example. With normal CPM scheduling methods, we see an average of 58 days beyond substantial completion, anywhere from 5 to 60% over budget. When you implement takt planning with Last Planner, you see those numbers improve to where right now in the United States, job sites using takt anywhere between on schedule to 7% faster than the end date, meaning they're finishing earlier. In countries like Germany, Sweden, Norway, they're up in the 10-20% range. It's absolutely crazy. I remember one client that we work with, they doubled their productivity, and I do mean that. We can show you the numbers if you ever want. Started finishing projects on time, and now are cutting the durations anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks on all of their projects. It's phenomenal. Here's my challenge. If you've liked this video, please like for me. That helps to get the message out. But if you're really tired of the nonsense and you want to get away from this mad rush, chaos, and hurt people and get back to a flow, steady, calm, where you go home to your family and you actually have a planning system that shows what you think, then it's time for Takt Planning. In the description below, I'll give you a link to our book, Takt Planning, another one, Takt Steering and Control, and the website for Lean Takt. We can help you out. We have so much by way of content. And I really hope that you put this into place. And in the comments below, please ask me any questions. I'm always here. On we go.